How long is a novel? At least 40,000 words. But how long should a novel be? Today we're going to find out. What's up guys, my name is Brandon McNulty. I'm a writer and welcome to my writing channel. As I mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be talking about how long your book should be. And this is an important question that you have to be aware of during the entire writing process. And there are a lot of great reasons that I'm going to get to today on why it's important to know your book's length and why you should stick to it. But I want to start out by saying that if you are writing your first book, your first ever novel, you need to just push through it, get to the end, and get a feel for how long a book should be or how long a book can be. Because if you don't understand how long 80,000 words is, you're not going to be able to balance out your story and figure out, when you should ramp up the tension, when you should kick in the excitement, whatever it is. It helps if you power through that first book, just accept that it's not going to be the greatest book in the world, just fight until the very end, and then take a look at your word count, figure out how you feel about it, and then try and compare it to books in your genre, books that you've enjoyed or books that you think are the most popular at this point in time. Now when it comes to novels, there are specific word count ranges that work for different age groups and genres. These are the two things you need to pay attention to. What age group you're writing in, meaning whether it's YA or middle grade or adult, and what genre you're writing in, whether it be like sci-fi fantasy or thrillers or whatever it may be. Now when we talk about age groups, typically younger audiences will read shorter books. I'm not saying that there's not 12-year-olds out there who are reading Way of Kings or they're reading The Stand or whatever, but generally younger audiences, they want books that are in that 40,000 to 60,000 range, or maybe the 60,000 to 80,000 range if you're writing YA. And then as you get into adult audiences, they'll have more leeway. You can write into that 80,000 to 100,000 range. But age group isn't everything. And if you are, for instance, writing a YA novel that is a sci-fi novel, you can go above that established 80,000 word range. And that's because different genres have different expectations as far as how long they should be. Now, when it comes to sci-fi, fantasy, and historical fiction, these genres typically can be longer than the others. And the reason why is because when you have these types of genres like sci-fi and fantasy and all those, you have to establish world building and you also have to introduce concepts that audiences are not familiar with. Now because of this, sci-fi, fantasy, and historical fiction novels can often go up to 120,000 words, although it's better if you keep them shorter. I think as a general rule, if you take one thing away from this video, remember that shorter is always better. Now if you're writing mysteries or thrillers or horror novels, typically these will be in the 70,000 to 90,000 word count range. And the reason why these have to be shorter is because suspense is a big part of these types of stories. And in order to create suspense, you can't have extra words bogging them down. Readers of these genres, they like to just rip through a book, they like to flip pages, they don't like to think too much about the setting or the history of the world or the backstory or anything like that. They like to keep moving. So shorter books will work for this particular audience. Now if you're writing romance, this is an area where you can have books of all different lengths depending on the subgenre. And there are so many subgenres out there, so if you are writing a romance, figure out where it fits in and how long your novel should be based on that. By now, I'm sure you're wondering, why do I have to adhere to all these rules in regards to word count? Why does it have to fit into this neat and tidy 20,000 word range? Can't I just write whatever story I want to write? And you can. I'm not telling you you cannot write a longer story or you can't write a 200,000 word book. All I'm telling you is that these are the expected word count ranges for genres and for age groups. And it's important to remember if you do plan on having success as a writer, because if you're starting off as a writer and you're trying to get an agent or you're trying to go the indie route and build an audience from there, either way, you need to pay attention to two things, and those two things are audience expectations and cost. Now, when we talk about audience expectations, we're talking about what an audience wants out of a book. If you're writing a thriller, they want a book that is fast-paced. They want a book that keeps them turning pages. If you write a thriller that is 120,000 words and it's your first book and it's extra large on the bookshelf, or it has a ton of different pages and they look it up on the Amazon page and they see, wow, this is awfully long, do you think they're going to take a chance on you? Or do you think they're going to turn to an established author in that field? Chances are they're going to go to someone who they've enjoyed in the past rather than taking a chance on your extra large book. You have to establish yourself before you can go into the higher ranges. And then that number 2 thing to keep in mind is cost. And cost is so important. When you have a longer book, it will cost more to produce and distribute. For instance, if you're going the indie route, you have to worry about paying an editor. You have to worry about getting an audiobook recorded and produced. You have to worry about distribution and how that's going to cut into your profits. And if you have a longer book, all those things are going to cost more. Editors typically get paid by the word, so if you find an editor and they charge 1 cent per word and you got a book that's 120,000 words, that's $1,200. But say you could cut that book down to 100,000 words, you're saving yourself $200, and that's not even taking into account the audiobook and distribution and all those different things. And then if you're going that traditional route, think about what an agent's going to think, what a publisher's going to think when they see a book that is longer than it should be. Do you think they're going to want to pay the extra money to the editors, to the audiobook people? Do you think they want to have more money cut off from their profits as far as the distribution goes? They're not going to want those things, and neither will you. So keep this in mind. Shorter is always better, and you've got to stick within those ranges until you are an established and successful author. So I hope this information helps. Question of the day: how long is the book you're currently working on, and what genre are you writing in? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for me. Share this video with a friend if you don't mind. And as always, remember to keep on writing.